In Enugu, the coast city, the band gathered under one powerful theme: stand tall, stand out. For years, I've attended MBA events across regions, but this time, the stage was set here at home. I witnessed it, not just as an attorney, but as a storyteller. From Mazia Farm's stirring call for advocacy that disrupts established systems, to Julius Malema's fiery charge for lawyers to lead economic emancipation of Africa, to Dr. Oby Ezekwesili's timeless remarks for economic reforms and accountability, I captured voices of leaders, colleagues, each echoing hope, need for reform, restoration of public trust, independence of the judiciary, and vision for the legal profession.
The first is on the issue of sit at home. When we came into government some years, 2 years ago, the situation we met on ground was one where everybody, whether you wanted or not, you were compelled to sit at home. And if you did not, it means that you're going to have a violent attack either on your property or on yourself. So that was the situation we met on ground. But I can tell you today, even in the Obete you just made reference to, those who want to come to work, who want to trade on Monday, trade there in peace and in safety. And of course, you're a lawyer. You're not going to compel somebody who, due to his own, some political undertone or his political leaning, decides to stay at home. It is not my job to compel that person to come to work. But I can assure you for free that if you do want to come to work on Sunday and operate in a safe and secure environment, you're free to do so, and it's happening everywhere in Enugu. I'm sure some of you followed my position about Nnamdi Kanu immediately I was sworn in. I guess my first visit to the president was the discussion on Nnamdi Kanu, and I came out and granted an interview about what I had just discussed with the president. So I still believe that the right thing to do is to release Nnamdi Kanu, and hopefully that would happen soon. In order for us to achieve those targets, we must do things differently. And for example, how are you able to accommodate 3 million visitors if you're in a city where you barely have 5 aircrafts that land at your airport on a daily basis? So you would just be posturing if you're talking about 3 million visitors without thinking about the fundamentals. What are those drivers? What are those things you have to put in place in order to drive that traffic? And which is why we went into setting up the airline. And then we also worked with an investor who today ensured that the airport, the international wing of the airport in Enugu is concession. And very soon that wing will become operational. And people would be able to fly from here to the United Kingdom. And in fact, we're hoping that this will begin to happen latest by end of this year or by first quarter of next year. You'll be able to take a flight from Enugu to the US, from Enugu to China, from Enugu to Europe, and all that. And so once you have, and just as Uzurumba had said, none of these things is knee-jerk. They are things that we have carefully considered. They're all contained in our manifesto. We thought carefully about it. We made commitment to it, and we say it as a social contract. The people have done their bit, giving us their mandates. We've committed to delivering on these promises, and we immediately set forth at dawn. And thank you.
When people come into Nigeria before now, people used to come. There was no where the Nigerian Immigration Service could even confirm the records of people coming into Nigeria. That was the scenario. Because what we were doing was what we call subjective profiling. Somebody comes in, they say, oh, where are you coming from? Where are you going? Where have you been? Well, you don't even know, maybe the person is lying. Officers don't have lesser in their eyes. But meanwhile, as far back as 2006, the United Nations Security Council had a resolution that every country must have what they call advanced passenger information. That is to say, before a passenger comes, you would have known. They would have checked all the criminal records, checked the database, flight profile, everything, all over before you take a decision. Maybe the person can be admitted into your country or not. Because somebody has a visa does not mean you can enter your country. That's the truth. By virtue of our laws, it is only the immigration officer at the point of entry that can say, come in or go out. That you have a visa is provisional entry permit. It's not that you can enter. But Nigeria never had it. But today, to the glory of God, for anybody coming into Nigeria, we know your record. We know where you have been in the last 2-3 weeks. We know your pattern of travel. We know what we call the pattern of life. And we can now decide maybe you can come in or not. This was what we never had. Nigeria, before we came on board, was this close to being blacklisted by ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization. ICAO says passport personalization should be from a centralized point. As big as the United States of America is, they have only 2 passport personalization centers. One in Philadelphia, the other one in Washington. The one in the UK has only one, which is in Croydon. If you apply for a British passport in Nigeria here, they will print it in London and bring it to you because it's a document of citizenship. But guess what? ICAO said, centralize it, maximum 2. China had just 1. Guess what? When we came on board, Nigeria had 96. 96. That is 54 in country, 42 out country, 96. That is why when I see people say, oh, in UK, Nigerians are criminals, that a lot of these people, some of these people that were carrying Nigerian passport, guess what? I'm sorry to say it. And we have caught a lot of people that prosecutions are in court as we speak. Yes, because the person, you go to the embassy in the UK, the person who enrolls you is the same person that vets, is the same person that approves, is the same person that issues. That's a single line of failure. No country does that. Because once you carry the American passport, you carry the United States in your pocket. That should be what our passport should be. But immediately today, as I speak to you, get to the NIS headquarters. We have the biggest in the entire Africa passport personalization center, which will take effect from 1st of September.
All right, Minister.
And we were able to deliver that costing over $30 million without a single kobo from the pocket of government and without awarding any new contract, but by renegotiating the existing contract and making sure that contracts begin to work for government. We know what we've done in Nigeria Immigration Service, e-Gate, e-Visa, e-Passport, e-SEP, a lot. We've done more than 20. We've done a lot even in NSPTC, a lot that we have done. The mine marshals, we were having problems with our mining fees because to me, Nigeria is more solid mineral, or is more of a solid mineral country than an oil country. But the simple truth is, go there, it was just the basis for crisis, bloodletting, and etc. We came up with along with the Minister of Solid Minerals. And we said, we have to introduce the mine marshal. We don't need to create a new arm. But that's what civil defense is meant to do, protect critical national assets. And at the end of the day, we trained, gave special training with the military to the civil defense, created it as an arm. And I tell you, the revenue from solid minerals last year was 3 times the previous year. And today, the level of violence recorded in the solid mineral sector has gone down.
I want to conduct a quick
public opinion research. And I will ask 3 questions, quick one. So if you agree, you will say yes. If you do not agree, say nay. My first question, I've not even asked the question yet. Are you a member of the ADC? Because the minister just spoke now, I assume that you are an opposition person to the government of the day. So the question is this, and please think carefully before you answer. Is Nigeria better today than 2 years ago? All right, hold on. The minister was a former member of the House of Reps. So what they usually say is, I will put the question to the floor again. My first question. So don't mix it up. So if you agree, so let those who want to say yes, say it first. I will put the question again. If you want to say no, you say no. All right. The first question is Nigeria better today than 2 years ago? So I assume that is for yes. Is Nigeria better today than 2 years ago? Okay, let's go to the second question. Do you think the nation is on the right track with the policies of the Tinubu government? It seems you are mixing these responses up. All these, I'm coming somewhere, I'm actually going somewhere. I'll put the second question again. Do you think, order please, do you think the nation is on the right track with the policies of the Tinubu government? Okay. All right. My third question, and this is very important, and we need to also think carefully. Is your hope renewed? No, I've not finished the question. Hold on. I've not finished the question. Hold on is a longer sentence. Is your hope renewed now, or do you think this government is in touch with the present realities of the average nation? For those who agree, say yes. Those who disagree, say nay. If you agree that the Minister of Interior did a fantastic job in defending a very difficult situation of the country, put your hands together for him. If you truly think the Minister of Interior did a very good job, please stand up and clap for him. So it's a unanimous decision. All right, on that note, the yes have it. I believe that the problem of Nigeria are not too much when we come to economy. And this is my question. I'll allow the panelists to answer in 1 minute each. And I will start with Dr. Oby Ezekwesili. What is the problem of this country's economy?
What would normally happen is that you would make sure that you have prepared for that reform. That reform was not prepared for. So what we ended up in that situation was a good reform done in the wrong way. And because that good reform was done in the wrong way, it signalized to every other economic type decisions that citizens had to make, and it threw the economy into the inflationary situation that we have found. Now, why is this situation really bad? It is bad because inflation punishes the weakest population of any society. You can't. When we train in economic policy, you really have to prepare for reforms. I think that there was a braggadocio that was behind that whole subsidy is gone. No, you've got to. There is a how to do reforms that was not taken into consideration. So 1 more minute and I would save land. 1 more minute and I would save land. So clearly, what then happened was that while the government was trying to realign incentive towards production, it was not thinking of the consequences that this would have in the short, even to the medium-term run, on the weakest within society. And so the poor are bearing the brunt of a realignment of price levels in the economy. What I believe really worsened this situation is an unwillingness to actually listen to what feedback was being given. Are the reforms well-intended? To realign the factors of production in the economy, that's a very sound way to look at economic reforms. However, the how to, you miss the boat on it and you turn the economy into a situation where an economy that was at worst low levels of double-digit inflation. I mean, you had single-digit inflation, 9% before. What was that? That's not the vote. That's me. You had 9%. You had 9%. In previous dispensation, because during the periods that we were in office, that whole taking down inflation because it is an erosion of value had happened. And so it was 9%. And then you move from 9% to 22%, which was what Buhari left. And then you go from 22% to as much as 33%. No matter how right the economic direction is, the fact that these consequences that could have been managed differently by virtue of how to do reforms did not happen.
All right.
Means that there is an accountability that is necessary on the part of the government.
Doc,
and for the
toughest job for me is how to stop you.
And for the poor, no, let me land on this. All right. For the poor, the worst thing you can do to them is inflation. They have no buffer. The poor don't have a buffer. You see all these ones, they have buffer. All those lawyers' fees that you people charge. You have buffer, but the poor don't. So when inflation comes, what does it do? That's true. It hits them so badly. That is why the most important role of any central bank is this management of inflation. And what is it that is driving it? You're talking about us as a commodity, one commodity-based economy. And it is that same commodity that suffered that impact of a good reform, but done in the wrong way.
There is a popular song, and I don't know who can remember. It's in Yoruba. It says, Omi lo pojo ka lo won se o. It means something. It means that you might be walking, but if your water is more than your gari, it won't show. Mr. Okewo, Why is the water of this government looking like it's much than their gari? The Nigerian people are not feeling the effect of the policies.
I think that question is pretty easy to answer. And I will say it this way. We can't deny some of the indices we are seeing, right? Is part of the question you asked earlier on, are our lives better now than before, right? If we look at it at the face value, we'll say no. If we look at it from economic indices, we'll say yes. If we look at the growth rate, if we look at the inflation rate and all of that. However, the question is, all these policies, what is happening? And I like scenarios. Subsidy is gone. Feel something to the atmosphere that caused the shaking that we had. However, what they happened was that shock that the masses got by that statement was lopsided. It didn't affect the other side of the divide. I would have loved to hear something like, subsidy is gone. All government parastatals, all ministers coming into power, no new car, no new furniture, no new. Do you get? Because at the end of the day, if we are going to reform, we know that we are going to go through some hard time. However, this difficult time, is in my mind? This difficult time must be shared, right? It must be shared. Subsidy is gone. Inflation hits the average man. Let us see the same thing happening to the other side. All the former ministers had vehicles, they had furniture, they had all of that. The same way you gave that political statement, subsidy is gone. Give the other one too that also bring down the cost of governance so that we can then trust you. What is happening is not that we do not understand that for us to move forward, there will be a need for us to take a step backward. However, we do not trust you because don't forget, shortly after that statement, the next thing we saw was the National Assembly amounting, is it 145 million now to buy SUV and things like that. It wasn't cutting equally. Now let me paint another scenario, and the one that I would like to invite the bar to maybe intervene in the judiciary, and it is the discussion in our budget. There's no how we will talk about monetary policy that we won't talk about, this other side, the fiscal policy. One thing that has always been a discussion in the Nigerian budget is the sharp difference between what is presented to National Assembly and what comes out of National Assembly, because the Constitution gives them the power to review, right? And review was just a blanket review. They can do anything they like to it. However, there is a provision made for National Assembly members to take something back to their representative, 100 billion zonal intervention project. And the National Assembly had relied or stood behind that 100 billion to distort the budget. And I will paint it this way. 100 billion is small. We now know that 100 billion is small. However, the question is, why are we not, if we really want to play economy, why are we not talking about increasing the 100 billion allocation rather than leaving 100 billion with the note that it is small, it cannot go around what we need to take back to our people. So because of that, we now need to go into MDA's budget and insert what is not. And I'm grateful for the Minister of Interior being here. We analyze the budget. That is our work. We break down Nigerian data. I would say not so much is still around the Ministry of Interior and all of that, but there are some ministries, modern ministries, agencies in this country that are notorious, right? Notorious for, you can see a proposed budget of 400 million that is coming back with 42 billion. How do you want to justify that? So what is making the water to be too much or more than the gari is because the political elites, right, are not committed to what they say. It's
Correct.
For me, it was a moment of deep reflection of the original objective of the Nigerian Bar Association as the conscience of the society. a reminder of what the law stands for and where it must lead us. And this is the story of Enugu, the story of Africa, the story of advocacy, the story of the law, standing tall and standing out. Many have raised serious concerns about the hypocrisy of the legal profession, how the justice system have oftentimes defeated the objectives for which it was meant to serve. This was exactly what Julius Malema was referring to in his speech when he said the colonial system that we inherited wasn't meant to protect and serve us justice, but to protect the colonial system. Having inherited it, we must reform this system to serve Africans and not the reverse.
Can you tell us more about your section?
Oh, okay. So yesterday I was a speaker at the session for entertainment and sports, expounding entertainment and sports practice in Nigeria.
Okay.
So what we tried to do was well, this is an area, a very niche area that most lawyers do not really pay attention to. So what we tried to do was to showcase the opportunities in that area of practice. We tried to show our fellow lawyers how you can make money, how you can position yourself to get clients, how you can build capacity in that field. And we also took the opportunity to discuss some thorny issues around sports and entertainment, issues like AI, AI incursion and so many, of that, yeah.
Okay. So what has your experience been in Enugu?
Yeah, Enugu is more like my city. I was born here, I grew up here, most of my education here, up to university. So it's a place I like to visit. It's always cool. And then seeing so many lawyers gathered, together, and the good treatment we see from the government, it's something to be proud of.
Right. So what advice do you have for young lawyers?
So, I always tell them, coincidentally in my branch, I had a committee in charge of new weeks.
Yeah.
So I deal a lot with young lawyers. I have a lot of young lawyers in my firm. So what we usually tell them at first is, building capacity. So it's not all about shouting, unemployment, remuneration, this and that. You have to build capacity because in as much as people say there is unemployment, there is actually employment in some spaces.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you have the capacity? Are you equipped to fill up those positions? So build capacity. Don't wait till someone else sponsors you to. I could remember even yesterday at the session it was mentioned it can be costly sometimes.
Yeah.
Sponsoring yourself to conferences, workshops, seminars, even traveling abroad to attend some things. But it's very necessary, something you have to do. And in building that capacity, you will also have the opportunity to network. Build connections that will help you either by giving you gigs or freelance work or even employment. Yeah.
What's your take on the conference, the organization and everything?
Okay, the organization it's very okay. I would say this is the first time we're having it here in Enugu. This is the first time I think Enugu is having this kind of conference apart from MBA conference. So it's a good experience. I'll tell you good experience.
So, in conclusion, where do you see yourself in the next few years? Your career goals, where do you see yourself in the next few years? You're not expecting that. Are you part of those who are planning to leave the country or something?
No. I think that one should be a plan B. Leaving the country for me should be a plan B because if you're involved in law, just pray, do your work well. It's being a good lawyer sells more. Yeah. Yes, knowing what to do and both client relationship and all that. Yeah, it's my plan B is traveling out.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Do you think that public perception of the legal profession at the moment, you think it is something that needs to be worked on by the Nigerian Bar Association, or let's use the word the bar and the bench, to restore public trust, the perception people have about the legal profession at the moment, either be it access to justice or the outlook of the judiciary at the moment in the eyes of the public? you think that something needs to be done at the moment?
Yes, I actually think that a lot needs to be done, not just from the NBA itself, even the bench, because there has to be a synergy between both parties. In as much as we are pursuing justice and all, we know that lawyers can only do much. The final say is with the judiciary, which is the bench, because they are the ones who make the decisions in the end. So the fact that a lawyer can make a very good argument, and if the judge doesn't agree with it, a lawyer can see that, oh, injustice will be done. But if we don't have justices who will stand firm, even in the face of any other thing, even in the face of injustice, and say, oh no, we have to do the right thing, then it will not be done. And the society will continually lose their trust in us, because people are now going ahead to do self-help, People no longer believe in the justice system. So you hear somebody say, you tell somebody, oh, you can sue that guy, and I say, sue who? Something the way we go just go, Amadio have go settle too. But so people are actually losing faith in the system, not just because of the lawyers, but also because of the judiciary itself. So I feel like it's a synergy, because the lawyers make up the judiciary. Let's not lie. Before you can go to the bench, you have to first be a lawyer. Every single person that is on the bench was first a lawyer. So the truth is that there has to be a synergy. But even with the way lawyers handle their jobs, a lot of lawyers are now going ahead to do some kind of very fishy practice. A lot of lawyers do not want to follow due process. Yeah, it's very unethical. So a lot of lawyers don't want to follow due process. They just go ahead and do what they like. But they think they are cutting. I feel like they think that with what they are doing, they are helping their clients, but they are showing their clients that they are not trustworthy people. You might think that, oh, you're cutting the road for your clients, you're trying to show them a way out. But if you're not doing the right thing, you're indirectly telling your clients that, oh, the system can work like this. So when they meet other lawyers that are up and doing, they feel like those lawyers are not good enough, because they don't know all the fishy ways, and all the sharp practices and all of that. But the truth is that when we consciously do these things, we are also subconsciously telling other people that it is right to do. And one day the tables will turn. And when you are being played, then you see how painful it is not to follow due process. Because when you don't follow due process, then that is injustice in itself. So we must also be very firm in doing what we are doing. So we also have to be sure that even as lawyers, even with our clients, even when we are trying our best to ensure that our clients get the best, we also ensure that we do it within the borderlines of ethics and justice. We do not derail.
If you have an opportunity to change one thing, I don't know whether to say on a broader pedestal like Nigeria or in the legal profession, but I'll just make it open. If you have an opportunity to change one thing or to lead a reform on a particular issue, whether on a broad pedestal like Nigeria or in the legal profession, what would that be?
On a lighter note, I'll just change my country of birth. I'll probably just pick another country, please. I'm tired. But
that's serious.
On a more serious note, I believe that, I don't know, there's just so much to say. But I would start from the roots, because, if you cut a tree and you don't take out the roots, then the tree has the ability to grow back. So you need to attack the problem from the grassroots. So it will have to be the policies, because the policies are what drive the nation. The policies here, many people don't know this, but the policies affect us in ways that we cannot imagine. A lot of things that happen because we have certain policies on ground that allow for them to happen. So the root problem will be the policies, the things that we allow to happen, the constitution in itself, the ground norm. So we have to attack the problem from the root. So I feel like we'd have to start with that. We'd have to address many of the issues that are not addressed there. We have to ensure that the things that ought to make for a society that works is there. And not just that, then we go over to the leaders. So then, I don't know if it's a thorough cleaning in that sector. I don't know how to call it, but we need to detoxify the sector in a way. I don't know, I feel this best puts what I have in my heart, because the detoxification of that system, like taking out whatever is bad and keeping the clean things there, just so that the nation can thrive, is what will help this nation grow. So I believe that we have to start from the policies, and then we work it all the way to the leaders, And then when we have people and leaders who know what they are doing, who know where they want to drive this nation to, and we have policies that allow for this nation to thrive, then I believe that the society will be one that everyone will be happy about.
Wow, thank you so much.
After the thought-provoking speech and charge by Julius Malema, there were social gatherings where lawyers were invited to network, relax, and enjoy the ambience of Enugu. It was a time to connect with friends, people you haven't seen in a very long time. So watch out for the next episode for more exciting conversations from my MBA conference experience. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.